Ian, the other piece of that meeting, Emily Dreyfus, who I think is on the call here, had planted a seed with us some time ago about the need for alternative dispute resolution so that cases don't always end up in the courts or end up with an eviction, but that we have a better means of resolving disputes between tenants and landlords. And so that suggestion from Emily led us to look into setting up a landlord-tenant mediation program. And that led to Claudette Green as our landlord engagement person getting trained as a landlord-tenant mediator. Thankfully, the Virginia Supreme Court offers training for mediators in Virginia. She has now completed the training component and just has to do some sort of on-site, basically like an internship, if you will, or a practicum to shadow a mediator, not necessarily landlord-tenant mediator, but just a mediator. And then once she's finished with that, she will then be certified as a mediator herself. And we spoke with Judge Sneathern about that whole process, and he was very excited to hear about it. He said he would love to be able to refer people to mediation. He can't require it necessarily, but he thinks it'll be a very attractive option both for landlords and tenants to resolve problems before they result in an eviction. So he's said once Claudette gets her certification, he's ready to go. And even to the point of, he said if there's any way in some of these cases where he can defer a trial and instead have refer the parties to mediation to try to resolve it before there even is a trial, he will pursue that at every opportunity. So that was a very exciting sort of moment. So thank you, Emily, for planting that seed, and we'll see how that goes.
We've been in touch with the Charlottesville Mediation Center recently because they received a grant to help a very limited number of people, but it means that neither the landlord nor the tenant will have to pay a fee. And I think the number is 8. So they're involved. And Ian, I also know, and Dave too, that the chair of the board of the Charlottesville Mediation Center knows Judge Q. So I'll try to connect you all after this meeting.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that would be great. We were having real trouble communicating through the clerks to the judges. So it took Dave, knowing Andrew personally to set up this meeting. So that would be a great connection. I mean, and again, this is something where we're right now just planting the seed. I'm optimistic, I guess, and I'm operating under the assumption that we'll have this money over the next 2 years, because I think we've at the very least been able to demonstrate to DHCD that there's a great need in our region, that we have a good team working on it. But with that in mind, I'm not worried about a sort of slow uptake. I think once we get in and the judges understand that mediation and these types of alternative dispute resolution opportunities are available, I think I'm optimistic that those relationships will continue to be developed and sustained. So that would be great. Maybe I'm just optimistic or naive, I guess. But I think if we want to open it up to any questions or comments from the committee, I think that's sort of the position I was really hoping. I tried to schedule this meeting as late as I could in the year to hopefully tell everyone we got the grant, but we're still waiting, unfortunately. But for now, there definitely is still some opportunity to try continue to connect us with different resources and different organizations. So happy to open up the floor for any questions. And I'm seeing hello to the CRHA folks. I'm seeing the West Haven camera.
I'll just say that we're very grateful for the referrals we've been getting from CRHA and from West Haven. You guys have been great, and legal aid has been great, and getting us names of people that we can help to keep in their homes with some of these funds that we had left over. Thank you for everybody for pitching in.
How do you become one of the 8 people mentioned, or are they already selected, or for to get the assistance, the program that you guys were mentioning, that they have an allotted amount of people that can get that help, which is 8 people?
Oh, for the mediation program?
Yeah, that one, yeah.
Emily, do you?
I thought you were talking about rent assistance. Thanks for clarifying. I think they're just in the initial stages of setting up the program, but the director of the Charlottesville Mediation Center is named Anita Holmes. And if you wanted to reach out to her, she could probably help give you some more details. I'm also happy to keep you posted as we learn more.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Dave, with the rental assistant, how many more people can you all help?
Like I said, Claudette's done such a great job of getting names and putting the money out. There's not a lot that's left. I met with her today. As of the end of, as of the beginning of this week, as of yesterday morning, we had $30,000 left, but she's already got at least 8 other people in the pipeline. And so there might be a little bit left once we're done with those 8, but probably not a lot left.
Okay.
But if you have Joy,
I'll stay in touch with her because
Yeah.
I gave her another list.
okay, that might be part of the 8 that she mentioned. She didn't tell me the names, but yeah,
Okay.
just follow up with her. And then obviously, if we do get renewed funding, that money will be available as of January 1, so we can help
Okay.
additional people as of January 1. So.
Well, thank y'all. Thank you.
No, thank you. You guys have been awesome. Like I said, getting us names, and we're really grateful for that.
Dave, a question maybe related to that. Would the program apply to somebody? I didn't realize these were available, but this is great that it is. I'm glad to know about it. Would it be available to somebody who's been evicted, is currently homeless now? I'm working with them to try to get housing again, but they now have a really huge debt. And so, that's going to affect their ability to get future housing. Is that something that this program could assist with, helping somebody pay down an old unlawful detainer so that they can get that off their record?
Yeah, we should probably have a sidebar conversation on that, just because I don't want to, I'd have to look at so we have certain eligibility criteria. I just want to make sure that they would be eligible. We do also have relocation assistance for somebody that has been evicted, needs help like with application fees or moving costs or things like that. So that is, I know for a fact that's an eligible use for somebody that's been evicted. But in terms of paying down a past debt that, where it's not allowing them to stay in their current home or their recent home, I just have to double check. So again, maybe we should talk offline about that, Todd, and I'll check with Claudette as well. So
Thanks.
it's a good question. It's a very good question. Any other questions or suggestions or Christmas carols?
Yeah, I really am hoping by the end of the week we know whether or not because I think next week a lot of people are out for a good amount of the week, so I'm hoping that they're able to provide us with that. And again, I really think we want to, the budget that we submitted was similar to the implementation grant that we're doing right now. But I really think, now that a lot of the resources that existed, even when we applied, are either dwindling or not there anymore, I think I really think that DHCD has been very, assertive about how much the budget is flexible in terms of the direct assistance stuff. And then obviously it'll depend on what Dave and his team are hearing, and also understanding that this pot of money, if it was just that there's so much rent arrears in our region that it would be wiped out, like we're seeing right now. But I still think that consulting with this group to continue to fine tune that budget and the amount of money that's available for specific needs, I think will be really important moving forward, just with with a second year in mind, starting next year. So hopefully, over the course of 2 years, just making sure that we're trying to make this money last as long as possible. But it's in many ways a drop in the bucket, unfortunately. So we're grateful to all the other organizations that are helping people too.
And again, just to repeat, it's also looking at systemic solutions. So not just sort of putting band-aids on things, but how do we come up with better ways of resolving disputes with getting people to a more financially stable place in their lives before they even start falling behind. So that's one thing I appreciate about this program, is that it allows grantees and localities not only to focus on individual direct assistance, but also how do we make the whole system better so that fewer people fall through the cracks.
So Dave, that I think what you all are doing is just a small smidge of the pie.
Yep.
But I think there are others that have to step up to the plate to really truly changing their mindset about economics for people and a living wage. I mean,
Sure. Yep.
a living wage is no longer $15 an hour, right? It's about $17, $18 an hour.
Or more. Yeah.
And savings but I don't feel like what I'm seeing out in the community that just your organization alone can do it. I think it needs to be a joint effort across the board, and that's not there right now.
I totally agree, Joy. It's an excellent point. We all have to do better to create a better. It's not even a safety net, because it's not about the safety net. It's a ladder. It's both, really, so that people who are
Right, because I always use my daughter, as she probably kill me if she know I'm doing this, but I always use my daughter as an example. Someone who was born and raised in public housing, graduated from school, wanted to go to college, but she became pregnant and she had to take a different road. I've worked all her life, passed the postal exam and got one of the highest grade there is, where she could choose a job anywhere. Got the postal job, that didn't work out for her, and she decided to go into medical as an ultrasound tech, and she loves what she's doing. She has a special needs child, and that is even more challenging. Jobs doesn't even understand or want to work with you when you have family situation like that. However, she makes pretty good money by working the night shift, getting differential pay, filling in when they're short and all, but she's still struggling. She can't get help for Kingston, who is special need, because Social Security disability denied her because they say she's making too much money. She can't get food stamp. She can't get any kind of assistance. She's just struggling. And then plus they just went up on her rent. She's paying for $1,500 for a 3-bedroom apartment and almost a $400 electric bill. So even though people are making money, they're still struggling. And that has nothing to do with what she's going through with her special needs son.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I think these hard conversations, it's not that people don't want to pull their self up from their bootstrap. They do it, but when they do it, we leave them hanging.
Absolutely, I totally agree.
That's I always use her as an example. And again, like I said, she probably will kill me because she's an introvert and she don't want everybody to know her business. But if it's my coworkers can tell you that I have sacrificed a lot just to help her and you all who know me know that, you know, the only person she have is right now is me with her special needs son, because she can't trust him with everybody. But there's no help for her. There's none.
Yeah, she's one of the
Get a
hardest working people I
voucher,
know.
She can't buy a house,
Mhm.
you know, and she wants to become a homeowner. She wants to become a homeowner. Anyway, that's my little spiel.
Yeah, there's definitely a whole lot more that we can be doing in this community to support people like her, who are doing all the things that we ask people to do and working hard and still falling behind. So
Anyway,
thank you, Joy. Any other questions or comments or?
Well, hopefully you'll hear some good news soon.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And like I said, if it does come through, please let us know if you know of somebody that would want to apply for one of the positions with the program. So we really lucked out with Tanya and Claudette, and we want to keep that streak going.
so what would be the position?
Well, that's a good question. In part, it's going to depend on what Claudette decides to do. She's been filling in for Tanya, as I said, over the last couple months with the case manager job and doing an amazing job with it. So I'm going to give her the choice. If she wants to stay on as the case manager, she's certainly earned it and is very good at it. Or if she decides she wants to continue doing more of the landlord engagement and the mediation work that we talked about, and then we'll give her that choice. So it's partly going to depend on, or entirely going to depend on what Claudette decides she wants to do, and then and that'll determine what the other position is. So we'll let you know as soon as we know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess the other thing I just wanted to throw out there is about the landlords too. We're hearing a lot of we're just hearing a lot of stories about landlords and what landlords are doing to either one, jack the rent up, or two, you know, giving them a last minute thing to say they're not gonna renew their lease. And we just really need to know what's behind all of that, right? Because you can't fix it if we don't know what it is.
I can tell you two things that are behind it. One is we're seeing a lot of local properties get sold to out-of-town corporate landlords. And that's a real big challenge, because then, you know, if they're a local landlord, at least in many cases, we know them, or at least we have a good connection to them. But with these out-of-town big corporate landlords, it's just so hard to break in, and so that's very frustrating. And then secondly, of course, the other big challenge is just the local housing market. It's going to have to burst or slow down at some point, because the prices have just been getting absolutely insane. Somebody posted yesterday a backyard shed in Belmont, literally a shed.
$1,100.
$1,100 a month to rent a shed
Right.
inside the
Oh.
backyard.
I think,
Really?
yeah, is it near us?
It is absolutely crazy. So some of the challenges, I mean, if you're spending, you know, 75% of your income rent, and then the other is in gas, and so I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Something definitely has to change. But anyway,
I agree.
I just think there's some right, and you can't stop them from buying the property, but it's just the same. And I just had the opportunity to be in Washington, hearing from some residents from Florida, Boston, about, and these housing have reached their tax credit max. Right, so these are tax credit properties that has been built much longer than just now. And in 2 years, one young lady was giving her story that they got up one morning and the property was bought by another property owner because they weren't even aware, the residents weren't even aware when the tax credit expired. And woke up and the landlord bought it, immediately went up on their rent. Which means that there were people who couldn't afford it, they got behind, and so they got a writ of possession on them because they couldn't. In the next year, another property, it was sold to another developer, and he went up twice on the rent. So in 2 years, their rent tripled. And so what has happened now is, from what she was testifying to, is that most of the elderly people and the people who are on fixed income have moved away. And right now, some of those units are just sitting empty. So eventually what is gonna happen, and she had to get a loan in order for her to stay in her unit, and she just shared a lot of things because she said she liked where she is and she just didn't want to move. But she said eventually she's gonna have to, because if it gets sold another year, you don't know what's gonna happen. And these are the kind of things that I'm hoping that Charlottesville will make sure it doesn't happen here when tax credits run out. Because we have a lot of properties now where the tax credit is almost coming to an end, but we are now taking our embarkment on tax credit, and we just got to make sure that that doesn't happen 10 years down the road. It is just horrible. Actually, I was at the White House and they were testifying that about what was happening. And then we heard from Boston how they built those, when they were building the buildings, even though they had handicap accessibility unit in the building, it wasn't handicap accessible to go visit someone on the second floor or the third floor. Right? So it was one, it wasn't an elevator building. You can draw that conclusion, but they still didn't make it accessible, like putting up a ramp or something. But so those are just some things that are happening out there that is just horrible.
Absolutely. And I'm sure Emily can share and legal aid can share stories, because we hear them too, of landlords that are creating reasons to push people out of their rentals. Some cases fabricating reasons, honestly, just so they can jack up the rent and move in somebody who can pay a lot more. And that's, it's just.
That was getting ready to sell their building.
Yeah.
They decided not to sell it. They're gonna wait until next year, 2023. To do it, from what I'm hearing from residents.
I just recently learned some additional information about when people have a basically a just cause eviction protection. If somebody lives in a development that gets low-income housing tax credit funding, LIHTC funding, they have the right not to be evicted or have their lease terminated without cause. And if someone's fabricating causes, that's shameful, and please send them our way if they're eligible. And if they're not eligible for legal aid services, we can give them referrals. But the LIHTC protections are really significant, and for people in private housing, without that protection, you really are at the mercy of the landlord. So it's a really tough situation with the market how it is.
Well, and one thing I'll say, not to toot our own horn, our collective horn here, but Joy, you're absolutely right. This program VERP is a tiny piece in the overall puzzle, but I'm proud of the fact that I think by the end of this year, we'll have probably about 60 people that we've been able to assist with case management and landlord engagement and financial assistance. And as far as I know, I still believe this is true as of, as of this week, not a single one of them lost their home. So we have a 100% success rate at keeping people in their homes for that very small universe of people we've been able to serve. So the program does work. We hope we can continue it and grow it over time and help more people and have a similar success rate. Because as we all know, when somebody loses their home, it's oftentimes cataclysmic. The effect on their families, their kids, their future prospects as renters, just across the board, it can be very traumatic. And so everything we can do to keep people from that is worth the efforts. And thank you all for
So
being.
Ian, I've never met you before, but so what are you all doing to look at some of these issues that are in the city of Charlottesville? What are you actually doing?
I don't know. I don't know if we're necessarily the right organization to be doing that, just because we're only administering the VERP grant. So the Planning District Commission.
But since you're administering the group grant, shouldn't you be able to give some feedback to what are some of the things you're hearing, seeing in the community?
Yeah, totally. I mean, that was part of our VERP, or the last application. We hope to include some of the things that we've been hearing from this group and from some of the folks that we've been serving. So I'm not sure. I think really the issue is that the amount of money that we can request it just doesn't even touch the need in the community. And we're primarily looking to build out the program at the housing hub.
So who do we need to be? Well, I guess what I'm saying is, and maybe I should ask anybody on this can answer this. I just think applying for funds to be able to help residents when they fall is a great thing. We need to figure out how we get money to do other things or bring the attention to why people are falling, right? Like, I think that's what Dave was saying.
Yeah.
But I mean, you get the money, and I don't want people to take it this way, but sometimes we can make people codependent on grants and stuff. So I can explain another day, but I would rather we find the root cause of what is happening and try to at least take the weeds away around from it so the root can grow better. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. So Joy, I wonder if, go ahead.
No, we have TJ. What is it? TJ? Thomas Jefferson Planning District, right? So
Two different, you got the TJPDC, the planning district, and the homeless
well,
coalition.
even it's a
Yeah.
planning district. So since you are a planning district and you're looking at the district, and I'm pretty sure if you go into rural areas, you will hear even more horror story. So why can't we at least presenting somebody, whether it's Sally Kane, I don't want to whomever, to say, hey, here is some things that is happening. Yes, the money is good to help catch people up, because that's what we're doing. We're catching people up for a few months and then they fall right back in that same rut. There seems to be something upstream we need to be able to change. And, for me, because I like a lot of times, like my daughter have this lily, the thing they give you when somebody died, they give you that plant, peace lily. And I keep telling her, the reason the leaves are turning yellow is because you have to separate the roots. If you was to take that lily plant, you will, if that one plant will give you 12 different seedlings. And if you don't separate the roots and plant it and weed it out, it start dying. But yet still we keep watering it. Do I make any sense to any of y'all on this thing?
Yeah, totally. We presented, we had Dave and Matthew Murphy come and present to the housing partnership at the TJPDC, which includes elected officials, other housing stakeholders, and also sent that information over to Sally from PHA. So we're hoping to engage with the statewide folks as much as we can, but it's tough. It's tough coordinating all of that, but we're trying to present it as much as what Dave and his team are hearing to them in the way that we can.
So Ian, I'm wondering if that was a good opportunity to sort of give a 10,000 feet overview of some of the issues, but I wonder if there might be an opportunity at the Regional Housing Partnership, which, as you say, includes representatives from every locality in this jurisdiction, to have, Joy come and speak, have a couple other folks from our program come and speak, and just kind of dive a little bit deeper instead of like this big picture that Matthew and I did, but really dive deeper so they can understand the real struggles that we've been hearing about in the last 20 minutes here. Do you think that might be a possibility?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a great idea.
I would love to bring my plant and demonstrate it and use it as a thing, because I just think if people could actually see that, they will understand that just putting money on something doesn't always solve the issue. I'm not saying we don't get it. Don't get me wrong. But then we need to fix, and it's not always the client you need to fix. Sometimes it's a service you need to fix. Kim has her hand up.
Yeah, go ahead, Kim.
Hey guys, I'm sorry I was late to the party for the meeting this morning. I wanted to ask if anyone is talking about predatory landlords and their role in the high number of evictions that all of our clients are suffering. The one that comes to mind immediately is Eviction Crossing. And we've got an issue with these landlords who are not doing an income test to determine whether or not someone can afford to even live there. And they're letting folks move in, and then everyone is rushing to try and help them with their rent so they can make rent and not be evicted. But there's nothing that prevents the landlords from doing this. And it seems like we're putting the cart after the horse if we're not actually looking at prevention to some extent.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Emily, do you know if that particular place is on your radar screen at LAJC or?
I missed who that was. Sorry, can you repeat, Kimberly? Who? Oh, yes, yes.
It's Eviction Crossing, and I actually spoke to the property manager yesterday morning, and he let me know that they've had 30 evictions in the last 3 weeks alone.
Yeah, yeah. They are one of the worst on the list. Barracks West, Abington Crossing, Spark. Yeah, are all really just shameful. But we are looking at a lot
less of this if we could take a look at the prevention piece as well with respect to the landlord.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's a limited amount of power that tenants have, but our philosophy is really that organizing and speaking up for yourselves and holding management and owners accountable is one of the best things we can do, especially where people have the protections of low-income housing tax credit, quasi just cause eviction. And Abington Crossing is on our radar. I also heard recently that they are holding dozens of apartments vacant. And that made me wonder whether something's afoot. And maybe it's just that they were waiting for the increased Section 8 housing voucher recipient rate or reimbursement rate. I forget what the term is. And that they plan to make more money off of it by renting to people with vouchers now that that's going up. But yeah, I think that I'm hoping in the new year that either Abington Crossing or Hearthwood, which is one that has the concern that Joy mentioned, which is that their LIHTC contract is expiring. They're one of the earliest ones to expire. I think we still have a couple of years, but it's going to be really concerning because as quickly as people try to build affordable housing, when we're losing the same amount from the stock, or when people are converting affordable housing into upscale units, we're really not making any progress. So we need to attack it from all fronts.
No, I'm good. Well, ask my questions. It's just real sad. 30 evictions is a lot in one place. 30 eviction and it's just, so where are they gonna go? They either gonna go live illegally with someone, or they're gonna end up living in some slum unit, or they're gonna be in a hotel. The city is either gonna try to put them up in a hotel or something. So I mean, it's like it's just a revolving door of the same thing. Anyway, I'm just rambling now. I'll stop.
Well, if anybody is free at 6 p.m. tonight, there's a hearing at the Planning Commission, the City Planning Commission, where they're going to be talking about the comprehensive plan, because the lawsuit that some anonymous residents filed did not win on most grounds, but apparently one thing the judge agreed with was that maybe there hadn't been adequate notice for one particular hearing. So this is a redo, and it's a chance to just say your piece and encourage city council and the planning commissioners to stick with the comprehensive plan that they adopted.
Hey,
Thank
I'll
you.
try to make it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Oh,
Happy holidays, everyone.
Yeah, thanks everyone for
Happy
conversation.
holidays.
Too.
Thank
Stay
you all
tuned.
for, yeah. Thank you all for being engaged and for bringing all these good issues to the table. It's important to hear.
all right, bye.
Bye.
What's this?